I'm stuck in Folsom Prison, and time keeps dragging on. But that train keeps rolling, all down to San Antonio, all down to San Antonio. When I was just a baby, my mama told me, son, always be a good boy. Don't ever play with guns.
Yo, how's everybody doing today? It's going to be a busy one. Of course, we've got this afternoon with Tesla, getting to hear what's going on with Q1 earnings and getting special announcements. That's going to be a lot of fun. We've got tariffs. Tariffs are always a thing, and the negotiations that intertwine them. So we've got a massive solar panel tariff. I think it was up to like 3,500% for some nations. We got China pulling private equity out, and then again the talk about delisting Chinese stocks from American companies. I know people aren't talking about that too much today, but I honestly think that is something that could be coming very soon. Also, too, the de minimis exclusion, that de minimis doesn't come back until May 2nd. So really, some of these companies like Shein and Temu aren't even getting hit by that yet. So there's still lots of pain that's going to be coming from that as well. And then I think the bulk of what we're looking at as far as the tariff strategy, especially with JD Vance hanging out with Prime Minister Modi from India this week, is really focusing on India and getting that relationship done. We've gotten some backlash from Japan, saying that they're not going to concede. We've got Thailand, backing up the truck a little bit and saying that they're not actively looking to negotiate. But again, these 3,500% tariffs might change that a little bit. So there's just a lot going on. We want to talk about it. Jeremy is so bearish on Tesla. Oh, is he? The YouTuber? That's possible. Yeah, sometimes that happens. I don't know. I think they could drop. Tesla has a lot of obstacles in front of it, right? Q1 historically sucks. Then at the same time, they're spinning down their most popular model, best-selling car in the world, and then spinning up a new one across 4 different facilities, at least 3 different continents. And then they've got fire bombings and all the crazy shit that's been going on too. So I think that's a lot, and we'll see how the quarter goes. I've said this a couple of times, but if the quarter goes well, I'm going to be super impressed about Tesla as a company and their opportunity to be able to really excel. Because if they could do better and bounce the stock for Q1, then there's nothing they can't do going ahead. I have been dialing into this a little bit with leverage. TSLL now, I think I'm up to a little over $50,000 in that, and then about $250,000 sitting in Tesla stock. So I've been slowly moving out of the stock as it was dropping and starting to leverage in, just because I think this is a really great opportunity. I hope it drops more. Let's look at that real quick before we get down to the tariff rabbit hole, since Tesla is kind of the special today. Let's just look at something. So what I want to do, I think TrendSpider did this, and I really like it. I think it's a good way to look at things sometimes. Oh, not that. I want to do like hide all. All right, so here's what we're going to do. So we're just going to look here at what's going on. So if I was looking at this chart, and I didn't know what it was, I've inverted Tesla, right? If I was looking at this chart and I didn't know what it was, I would say this was a hell of a bounce and that we would probably see this go up more. That's what I would think. I would be like, wow, this is a V-shaped recovery. It doesn't have a ton of resistance above it. Like there's some up over here. I don't know. Maybe it bounces and it goes a little bit higher. Well, bouncing and going higher in this case is dropping lower. So again, this doesn't factor in everything. There is a lot of volume sitting in this range, but again, we're underneath some of it. I do think that there's strong support. Like I've still, documented in green here. I'll probably drag this a little bit down because we touched that already anyway. But I do think that there's some strong support where we have this back trending line, where if we go down to these levels, not saying that we have to today, I don't know how it's going to perform. I really don't know. I can't give you a confident answer either way. There's a lot of macro going on right now. There's so many things could happen right now. But I do think that at 731 billion, I think it's cheap, especially with everything that they're doing and everything that's coming out in June with the new cybercab deployment in Texas, and we can see all those castings. I don't know. I still think it's cheap. I think there's a so technically, from a technical level, it looks like shit. From macro, kind of looks crazy right now. From narrative, you've got like people vandalizing the cars. There's just not a lot of good stuff, but fundamentally, I think the company is amazing. If it does go down hard today, I'm just buying that dip. I'm going to sell more stock and then dial into that leverage because I just think this is such an amazing opportunity. Danny said, so much negativity already baked into Tesla. That's true too, though. That's true too. It's just, yeah, I just don't know. It's such a tough environment right now. And again, there's so much uncertainty from Trump's tariffs. I'm 100% in support of them. It is what we have to do. I just have no question in my mind about that. But it's a painful process, and it's not necessarily going to be easy at all. And we're going to talk about that in more detail. I did want to show this, though. This is from Daily Pulse. I thought this was actually a really good video. It's not too long. I'm probably going to 1.5 exit here. Hopefully that's not too fast, but I just want to play a couple of minutes of this. It'll probably take 5 minutes. I think they do a great job talking about the tariffs and how China's not doing very well throughout all of this. So I'm going to play this real fast and then we'll go.
We told you last week about China's retaliatory measures against Trump's tariffs with the Boeing story. Well, it seems, at least at this point, that it might just be backfiring on China. According to many sources out there at the moment, China is indeed feeling the pain not just of Trump's tariffs, but a culmination of what's been coming for a very long time. From Zero Hedge, China is in economic dire straits and they're no longer able to hide it. And so Tyler starts this by acknowledging that official economic data from any government is always treated with suspicion by anyone with common sense. And he
Especially when they hide 90% of it since the pandemic.
references all of the nonsense that came out of the Biden administration and the lies about the economy. But he says, in China, lying about the economy is treated as a national security imperative. If there's
True.
anything in the world that gives communists a feeling of existential dread, it's the fear that their ideological enemies will discover proof that communism doesn't work. The Trump administration's tariffs on China are not the initiator of the nation's troubles, but they are more of a bookend to a process of decline that's been ongoing for years. So overall, tariffs on Chinese goods currently sit at 124%, but some goods will be taxed as high as 245%. Trump has given a 1-month exemption on electronic parts and devices. But the problem for Chinese manufacturers is not just the tariffs, but the uncertainty of timing and sudden changes to policy. They say no one is willing to make a big move on production or shipments until the trade landscape becomes more predictable.
She's going to touch about this more, but I think this is probably one of the biggest things that people aren't understanding. We are at war with China economically in just about every other way. And that is the biggest point about what's going on right now in regard to this trade war. It's to prevent Taiwan from getting invaded. It's to prevent from having America fall to China in the years ahead. And again, all the things that they do, whether it's stealing intellectual property, whether it's after, 5 million in sales of a particular good, some knockoff Chinese company basically taking that over and stealing the sales and then shutting down the company that originally came up with the concept, whether it's in the United States or some other part of the world, whether it's stuff like that or them trying to kill off entire industries like the steel industry or trying to control solar panel development or trying to control different areas of the economy that they deem to be crucial for their development and their supremacy in the world. Our biggest motivation right now is to prevent that. I'm going to talk about that more, but if that's our big focus, if our big focus is fighting off China, then you got to realize Trump is not going to cave on this piece at all. This is the main focus of what we're trying to accomplish. And again, I'll let her speak a little bit more here in regard to the tariffs. She's got a really good point coming up.
This means most Chinese factories are frozen. Trump's tariff actions are widely criticized by the media as erratic, poorly planned, but what they don't understand is that the uncertainty is the real leverage, not the tariffs. What seems like a spur-of-the-moment decision or a sudden capitulation on Trump's part can be highly effective at throwing foreign governments and corporations off balance. Globalism requires a perpetual status quo. Change of any kind is like holy water to a vampire.
This is the part that I wanted to emphasize, is that Trump, all these chaotic changes and then ramping up even more tariffs 3,500% in for some of these countries, like a list of 4 or 5. In regard to the solar panels, this just makes it to where it freezes entire sections of their economy. People just stop ordering everything. Today we have First Solar going up like 7.5% in pre-market because it's U.S. based. And it's competitive for the first time in probably a very long time. If these tariffs go into place, like they're going to be the number one place that people will buy these things. So that uncertainty is part of the weapon. People look at it as, oh, Trump's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's doing. It is the weapon. It is the saber being used.
Chinese shipments are actually on standby and orders are frozen. Nothing is moving. We want to play you some interesting insight from China Observer on YouTube.
Effects on China's exports and the shipment until new rules emerge and the market gradually recovers. Trump's reciprocal tariff plan has indeed had negative effects on China's exports and the shipping industry. The U.S.-China route is a critical part of China's shipping industry, and the decline in cargo volume will lead to excess container shipping capacity, falling freight rates, and shrinking profit margins for logistics companies. Some shipping companies may even face insolvency. Southeast Asia has become a heavily impacted area due to the U.S. reciprocal tariffs. For Chinese companies
Yeah, maybe we can buy up all those cheap ships when the companies go bankrupt.
relying on U.S.-China trade, they did not expect that Trump would impose such strong tariffs on Southeast Asian countries like Cambodia and Vietnam. With the tariffs now in place, the profits of Chinese companies exporting to the U.S. have decreased significantly, as some have nearly become non-existent. The more they export, the more they lose, and even their attempts to use transshipment trade have been blocked.
And perhaps even more interestingly is Chinese nationals.
Transshipment too, guys. These are just ways in which they could reroute to another jurisdiction in order to be able to try and avoid tariffs. But again, we're trying to kill all of that. That's why we were so tough on Vietnam and some other countries like Cambodia, is to prevent that exact thing from happening.
Reporting how much of an effect this is having on their businesses.
Hey, what I fear the most is happening. I got an email early this morning from a U.S. client who purchases several $1 million worth of goods each year. Due to changes in Trump's tariff policies, they'll indefinitely suspend their orders. I read it and nearly passed out. What do we do now?
今年50%以上的工厂都会倒闭。
More than 50% of factories will close this year. The golden era, when machines were running nonstop, is over. My brother, I just got off the phone with a client. He's gone bankrupt and has cleared out his stock. A lot of my clients in my WeChat moments are gone now. My peers are desperately slashing prices and extending payment terms. We have orders with payment terms, but we can't collect the money. Those doing cash sales can't even get orders.
Zero Hedge says China will not be able to survive.
So I won't play the whole thing. You can watch it on your own too. But essentially, it's that China doesn't win in this. China's doing very bad. China's going to fail. And we have all the power. And I keep saying this over and over again. But I want to articulate that what some people see as aloofness and confusion on Trump and his administration, it is the weapon. Again, and people mock the art of the deal. It is the art of the deal. And so just understand that even though not everything will go great with what we're trying to do with tariffs, our objective is much bigger. It is basically putting China on the defense and making it to where countries and companies come back to the United States and start doing a lot of business with us. And I think India is going to be a primary focus of that. I'm going to talk about that more in some of these upcoming posts. If you're not paying attention, we got Bitcoin in the bottom right over here, guys, sitting at 88.7, above the 200 moving average. We should have a brief stop at 91,000. Then we can go up to about 93, 93.5 in pretty short order, I would think. I would think that happens this week. And then you'll see where some of that resistance, I've marked it with a red box over here where we'll start to hit volumes before they peak. And if we break 96, it's just off to the moon. It's very, very, very good stuff. Let's keep going, though. I put, looks like Japan's ready to print. Japanese PM Ishiba to implement electricity and gas subsidy for July through September, basically just trying to help lower costs to offset some of the potential concerns that are coming up with the tariffs. Probably not going to do much to help, but it's more money printing, and Bitcoin's going to be a huge beneficiary of that. Also, Bitcoin up 1.34% on the day. 1.33 now, and gold up about 0.95%. So we're starting to see some of that outperformance that I was talking about, which is wonderful to see. Zero Hedge, what American hardline retailers are saying about tariffs. I'm gonna open this just for a second and just glance through some of it. It's a really good article. You should check it out. So this talks about BJ's Wholesale Club, Dollar General, Dick's Sporting Goods, Foot Locker, Ollie's Bargain Outlet, Restoration Hardware, Target, Ulta, Walmart, Petco. It's got them all in here. And there's a general theme. A lot of them either have larger inventories, they can offset some of the costs. In Target's case, it looks like they're going to have to eat a lot of it. So they're going to see their profits probably diminish pretty significantly, I would guess, literally with the amount of Chinese labeling that they have and low inventories. I think it says 7% year over year inventory growth. Like they don't have a lot of inventory or storage for stuff. So that I don't feel like they're going to be well prepared for tariff hikes that are kicking in, now with China. I think that's probably going to hurt them quicker than some other retailers. But a lot of these, though, like Walmart and others, they're like, hey, we're automating, we're doing all these things. We've started modifying supply chains. They've got an automation cycle that's scheduled to roll out through 2029. When you're reading through a lot of this, it's really good. It talks about minimal impacts initially and how they're still going to be able to, like a lot of them don't talk about passing on hardware costs in a big way and say that they're still going to be able to function and that they're rerouting trade. It's actually surprisingly good when I was reading through this today. So again, take some time to listen to what the actual impact is and not just a bunch of talking heads on CNBC. Not that there isn't going to be pain. I think these tariffs, I think people are underestimating the amount of pain that's going to be experienced this year. It's one of the primary reasons I'm very happy to be in Bitcoin. Are you doing Tesla earnings today? I haven't decided yet. There's so many good people that already do earnings, like Farzad and just a bunch of others. So I don't know if I need to stack on top of that. I really don't know if there's much point. I'll probably just watch it, and that way I can just take notes. I'll probably do that. We'll see. Let me see here. So I said, so this one talks about JD Vance meeting with Modi and in India and talking through that. I'm going to look at it in a second here, but I did want to just throw out my comments. So I said, I strongly believe that Trump's strategy has India at the forefront of a new coalition of free trade, which will give the USA full access to their markets. If I'm right about this, it will put the rest of the world on notice that the new world order has been established and China has been extracted from it. So again, Rod Martin did a nice little post here. He just said, hey, why this visit could reshape the entire U.S.-India relationship and why media is missing the real story. And that's what he calls mainstream media. You got to remember, too, Modi actually got interviewed after he had met with Trump. I actually posted that one a while ago, back in February. These negotiations with India have been at the very forefront for a long time. This is the primary player that we're working towards. But it says, let's be clear, the $45.6 billion trade deficit with India isn't just a number. It's a symptom of decades of failed policies and one-sided deals that have hurt American workers. I've written a lot about it. He said key details missing. Trump's Feb meeting with Modi wasn't just diplomatic theater. Behind closed doors, major moves were made on oil, gas, and LNG deals. China's actually working on one right now with the UAE. It looks like they signed something yesterday. Hey, Jesse, did you buy any NVIDIA leaps? I have not yet. I'm still a little worried about NVIDIA just because of the fact that, 46% of their business going to Asiatic countries that are probably just really going to China is a huge portion of their revenue. So, and then with all the announcements from Amazon and these other companies dialing back on their high performance compute ambitions, I'm just being a little more cautious. I do have SMCI. I don't have NVIDIA yet. Maybe I'll look at it in the future, but it's not my primary focus. My big focus right now is Bitcoin and proxies and figuring out what's all happening with the tariffs. And then if we get further decline in equities, figuring out the cream of the crop of what I want to invest in, with Tesla obviously being one at the absolute top of the list. But anyway, I won't go through all of this. There's 70% tariffs against U.S. cars in India. We have 2.5% against them. So I think this kind of stuff, this is the stuff that just completely goes away. And then JD Vance was asking that some non-tariff barriers be removed as well in order to be able to allow companies like Amazon and others into that market. So we might be getting a lot of flack right now in regard to some of these Magnificent Seven stocks, which have just been decimated. If you look over here, we're really light on economic data today, too, just so you know, guys. Year to date, though, if you look at Microsoft, Google, if you look at Apple, NVIDIA, Amazon, Tesla, just the Magnificent Seven are not very magnificent year to date. So they've suffered greatly. Let's see what they look like right now. And pre-market, not too bad, huh? But they've suffered greatly, and I think that what we're seeing is we're seeing that that could change again with a deal with India, if we end up seeing something where they start to allow Amazon and some of these others into their market, and then again sign large energy deals, which I think is kind of a given, and then buying weapon systems. That sounds like something that's coming out of the conversation with JD Vance too. If we see all of that, I think it's going to be something where it's going to be monumental, and it's gonna really force a lot of people to the table. Let's just look at a few notes of what came out this morning about conversations with JD Vance. It says the future of the 21st century will be determined by India and U.S. partnership. I actually wrote that other post before this came out, but I think this is a great validation of my thesis that India is the country that we're most focused on partnering with right now, and it makes sense. There's such a huge market. We're basically trying to say, like, oh, hey, China, you're our old, relationship. Fuck you. We're done with you. We hate you now. And we found this new girl, and her name's India. And I feel like that's what's happening, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be proven to be right very soon. Also, India should consider dropping some of its non-tariff barriers for American access to the Indian market. We want to help India explore offshore gas reserve and critical mineral supplies. Here's another one. India and America have finalized terms of reference for trade deal negotiations. India and U.S. will co-produce mini defense equipment, and we want India to buy more of our military equipment, believe much to gain from energy ties. So lots going on there this morning, I think, with dialogue with India, which I'm very excited about. Also, on the Chinese side of things, Chinese Premier Li Jiang has sent a letter to Japanese PM Shigeru Shiba calling for coordinated response for U.S. tariff measures. So they're trying to, we kind of know that we saw a snubbing from Japan yesterday. It might have been the day before, or at least from some people in Japan, probably not the people actually doing the negotiation from what I was listening to. But we've got some people that are saying, hey, this is basically extortion from the United States. It's kind of funny since if anybody's been a mob boss over the last decade, it's Xi Jinping in China. But so we'll see how some of that goes. I'm not really worried about it or focused on it. I really am focused on India right now. But also, too, from yesterday, Trump met with Walmart, Target, and a few other companies. I think Costco was one of them, to talk about impacts and tariff concerns. These guys all said the meeting was productive. Costco didn't respond. So we'll see where it goes. They said they're looking forward to more discussions. We also have DHL now suspending consumer shipments from any origin that are over $800 because of tariffs-induced backlog at U.S. Customs per Fortune. So we're going to see a lot of slowdown, it sounds like, from the customs side of things with some of these massive tariffs, especially with de minimis coming back. That's going to just have a huge impact on those, I think. All right, let's keep rolling down here. So again, First Solar, I don't know what it's looking like right now, guys. Maybe I can click here and take a look. It only says 2.75, but I don't know if that's pre-market. I'm not sure. But it looks like it was doing good, at least at the time that Shea posted this. Again, those 3,500% tariffs. We'll talk about those in a second. And this was Thailand. So Peru put this up. He seems to be getting a little pessimistic about the tariff negotiations. But tariff talks are going well. Everyone wants to negotiate. Again, that's like Trump's last response. Thailand says talks with U.S. over Trump tariff plan delayed. So they've delayed them. But I said I wonder if the 35%, 100% solar panel tariffs will change their mind. And then again, what American hardline retailers are saying about tariff fallout. We kind of went through some of that. And then, yep, I already did that one. Let's keep going down here. I did another post. I actually created this with Grok. I love it. The little tariff and our panda guy over here. I said, I don't know who needs to hear this, but one of the key objectives of the volley of tariffs that have been applied since April is to cripple China in order to resolve unfair trade practices that work to target and destroy our international competition. So if you're expecting, along with, again, all the military stuff, so if you're expecting capitulation in regard to China, I don't think you're going to see it. Let me get caught up with chat real quick here. Morning. Any thoughts on BTC miners? I think they're going to start outperforming. Today, MicroStrategy's up 2%. Mara's up 2.12. CleanSpark, which was only down 0.53% yesterday, is up 2.54 today. Iron's up 2.36% today. I could see these starting to outperform. I think MicroStrategy still takes the lead, though. on them. Team Miri, Jesse, do you think Trump should have been more targeted with tariffs? Nah, I think what he's doing is just fine. I again, it's shock and awe, guys. It's not. It's meant to be disruptive. This is a reestablishment of the world order and trade and economics and militarily, and it's everything, right? Like this is go big or go home. This wasn't something where we're going to do it small. And people can complain. They can have a bunch of noise about Trump talking about firing Powell, which I think is just a waste of energy to even have a discussion about that. I don't think he intends on doing that. I don't think he has the power to do it. So why even talk about it? And I think there's a lot of tariff noise too, because we're in an age of instant gratification, and 2.5 weeks have passed, and we haven't resolved all the issues with the 130 or whatever countries that we're working with. I've heard 75 and 130. I think 75 is confirmed pretty well from all the people that have been talking to him. But that's a lot of countries to get through, and even if it is 100, that's even more, right? And tariff negotiations and trade deals, these things normally can take a year or two. I do think there's an incentive to expedite it much quicker right now, which is good. But I think people need to be more patient. By the way, at the time of saying this, it looks like we're at 88,800 right now with Bitcoin. I would expect that to continue to go up. Gold is up 0.91%, and Bitcoin is up 1.45%, outperforming just like we talked about. Let's see what else we got here. Everyone calling 180 for Tesla makes me think it's not going to get there. Yeah, I agree. It probably won't. Anytime, because you know that you have a bunch of buyers at that level, right? Which means it's probably going to be higher. But there's so many wild cards that can happen. It's hard to know for sure what happens. And let's see here, Pradeep. Hey, Jesse, did you buy any NVIDIA leaps? Oh, that was from earlier. Do you think, TT says, do you think Trump chose Vance for VP because this was the play all along due to his wife's No, I mean, JD Vance is so much more than just his wife being Indian. I do think, though, that relationship doesn't hurt at all. And why not send JD Vance? He's a smart man. He's well-spoken. He's articulate. And he is, I would say he seems like somebody who should be a really good negotiator. And he's kind of like top dog outside of, Trump going there himself. And honestly, I think he'd do a better job than Trump. Anyway, so I think it's a great move. Team Miri, do you think Musk supports the tariff policy? I do, actually. I do for the most part. I don't think he'll talk poorly about it. I don't know. Maybe he'll throw out a few warnings. I'm interested to see if that happens today. Around 4:30 when we have the meeting talking about earnings. I'm interested because there are some of the retail questions are definitely orchestrated around tariffs and things like it. It'll be interesting. Again, in previous discussions, he was very, very open to throwing out, complaints about what was happening with the government and, the directions that we were taking in interest rates and all these kind of things. It'll be interesting to see how quiet he is, or if he talks about it at all, given his current position and the fact that he's spending so much time with Trump, like literally every day with him. Thoughts on Enphase? I don't really have any. I don't have any, but I don't know if we get... I don't know. I don't know what their dependency is on Chinese products, so I don't really have any. Victor Hernandez, miners seem a little doubt versus BTC move at some point. The wild, yeah. They're. It makes sense that they move slower. Again, the biggest vessels move first. Gold is the biggest vessel. It hit 3,500 last night, and so that's by far the biggest one. And that move, guys, like just to put that in perspective, let me bring this over here. This is a move, and I was listening yesterday to Michael Howell from Cross Border Capital, the guy who wrote Capital Wars, that book I love so much, and he was talking about how high he thinks gold can go. Do you guys want to know how high that is? So January 2025. So since the beginning of the year, we have seen gold go up 32%. That's like, it's pretty fucking crazy for gold, for an asset that's as big as this. But no, Cross Border Cap, he thinks, Michael Howell thinks that there's the potential that China is trying to devalue the yuan versus gold of which they've been stockpiling in mass. I do believe that that's probably true. He said that if they do that, the levels at which they might have to do that could put the price of gold closer to 22,000. So let's say that's like worst case, right? So let's 22,000. Let's just look. This is like Bitcoin shit. Honestly, I can't even. I have to redraw everything to get to those levels. But somebody was talking about how like there's no way it would get that high because but then one of these guys from like Blockworks and Forward Guidance, I forget what his real name is, he was talking about how they're trying to twop it, which means they're trying to time weighted averaging in of the investment. And so they don't care about the market cap and the fact that it's, going to be 27 trillion or something soon. They don't care about that. But I would make the argument that what we're going to see, yeah, that would be a guy candle. This isn't even it. It would be much higher than this. So it'd be like way the fuck. If Michael Howell's right, it's going to be like way the fuck up here. This is like the halfway mark. This is like the halfway mark. So if Michael Howell was right, we would see something like this. 531% from where we are. Which would be a little insane. I'm actually going to have to redraw some of this. I don't think that's going to happen. But I do think this. I think the United States is going to revalue their position on gold eventually. And I think they might sell some of it after gold rises a bunch. I think they might sell some of it to move it into Bitcoin. And I think that's a brilliant move. You don't want to get rid of all of it. You want to do a slow transition. But I do think that in some way they'll start acquiring more in Bitcoin while probably keeping gold too. I don't think they're going to get rid of gold. I don't think that'll happen right away. That's going to be a slower process in my mind. But this would be fucking insane. And imagine what Bitcoin is if we got anywhere close to that level. And this is probably like world melting down stuff. I don't want to say that that's happening right now. I'm more optimistic than most. The thing I want to make sure that I'm putting out there to you guys, though, is if you haven't figured this out, I strongly believe that Bitcoin is going to be resilient in downside movements in the economy because of money printing. I think it can be much more resilient than tech companies and things that are tied with tariffs. I don't think people are talking about that enough. A few people are. But I think you really have to think about the fact that so many different companies, including Tesla, have tariff-related concerns that affect their bottom line and their valuations. Bitcoin doesn't have that. Gold doesn't have that, right? They don't have those problems. They're a store of value, and especially with Bitcoin, that is incredibly scarce, divisible, immutable, transferable to anywhere on Earth. No government intervention, no concerns about whether China's winning the tariff war or the United States is. It's just money printer go burr. This is probably one of the best asymmetric vessels you can store your value in. And so we'll have some volatility, I think, coming very, very soon. But I do think that we're going to see this going higher and higher and higher. And I think people need to mentally be prepared for that. He's not the only one thinking that. 10K gold by 2030. Haig, if it reaches those levels, I will start panning for it in rivers. Yeah, right. My Robinhood gold card will be worth a lot more if that ends up happening. I think when I originally started playing with this thing, I was like, yeah, it's worth $1,300. Shit, it might be worth $2,000 now. I'm not sure anymore. So the actual card is gaining in value. What's my approximate cash amount right now? Like nothing. And I need to update my balance. I'll do that for sure within the next week. I'm trying to get it. I should at least probably be doing it every 2 weeks. Ideally, I should be doing it every one. So I'll try and do that and get it out there. But essentially, somebody asked me about TLT too, and I told them no. Like almost 2 weeks ago, I dumped that. And I have virtually no cash right now, very low. I paid, I just got done paying with the amount I prepaid and then the amount I had to pay afterwards. I paid like $220,000 in taxes for this last year. Just an outrageous amount. So at least I'm doing my part so that the government can fund NGOs that are supporting terrorism around the world. I can feel good about that. All right, let's keep going here. JT, exchange is killing my portfolio. Exchange is? What do you mean by that? Just the fees. Just saw the Taiwan dollar versus USDT today. Oof. What was going on there, JT? Is it just getting out of whack? There's going to be so many currency related things going on right now. History Guy Scalps. Jesse, I'd rather sell Schumer, Pelosi, and Von Hollen than our gold. Yeah, I don't know if we can get anything for them, but I agree. LW Crypto, look at BTC now compared to 4 years ago and how many companies, countries, funds actually know what it is. It will not drop as much as it was. Yeah, I don't even think we're close to dropping. I think we're getting ready to skyrocket. Team Miri, Jess, what's your approximate cash amount? I already answered that. Victor Hernandez, I'm losing 8 to 9% only in currency exchange. Jesus, that does suck. Mike Lauk, you better keep that sucker in safe. Yeah. Alex Garcia, 22,000 for gold. Shit. Yeah, you don't want to see what the world looks like at 22,000 gold. Let's hope that number never comes to fruition. My dollars are worth less if exchange it for Taiwan dollars. Basically, the dollar is going down, which is good for the U.S. economy. Yes, that's true. People aren't, again, everybody's talking about like the dollar falling as if it's a bad thing. It's actually hugely beneficial for the United States. It will actually increase the odds that it's not happening right now, that we see more tourism in the future, that we see more investment dollars flowing into the United States, that we see cheaper exports. There's so many benefits to it that are very exciting. Let's keep going, though. Tariff, I don't even think we have anything economically that's coming up right now that's that interesting. We do have the Fed, Richmond Fed, but I think that's at 9, yeah. So we really don't have anything until 9. Let me see. There's some stuff coming out of Canada. PPI, month over month. So this is the Producer Price Index. They expected 4.5. They got 4.7. That is a tick lower than the previous month. So kind of going in the direction, but hotter than expected. Raw material prices. And the only reason I'm bringing these up, guys, is that this is probably going to translate into what we'll see later this week with the United States. Raw material prices in Canada. It looks like they actually took a little bit of a drop, which is good. Year over year, 3.9%. Previous was 9.3. Forecast was 6.5. So it looks like the inflation rate of raw materials has come down, which is great. So again, we'll get our data points coming out here around 9. Not too much to look at between then. It looks like IMF World Economic Outlook. Do we really care what they think? I don't know. Cheaper dollar will help grain sales. It'll help with a lot of things. Worth buying NVIDIA stock or not due to tariffs? I don't know, Mop. Again, I was talking about this just a little bit earlier. The one thing I'm worried about, so the chart doesn't look great. It looks a little bit like Tesla's right now. So the chart doesn't look great. Like, again, this previous resistance zone turned into kind of not really support, then broke down. We got rejected right off of it recently here, and we're going down. But if you just look here, this isn't a great looking chart, honestly. Now, it could grind down here for a while and stay above like this 90 range, and or it needs to bounce back up quickly, and then all of a sudden it starts to look a little more bullish because, again, we had a deep wick down here into the 80s. But I just don't know with NVIDIA if they really do have concerns about, almost half their business flow dying off because of these tariff-related concerns and just really crackdowns with China, then I don't know how well they do. 22,000 yen or USD? Oh, no. For gold, USD. But I think he was talking about like what it could get to in the next year or two if things really, like if China really has to devalue their currency against the yuan. He was saying that it could get to a USD price of 22,000. Not yen. I believe it was USD. I'll watch the video again, though, and confirm, and then get back to you guys. Sawyer, I don't get why the trillions of dollars in offshore bank accounts aren't being stored in Bitcoin yet. I mean, I'm sure more and more will be. Connor H1, little cash left. Would you buy Leaps or stock in Mara or CleanSpark? I mean, that's what I've been doing. I've been buying leaps. There's risk associated with that. I think that the benefits are actually pretty good with all the tariff related things that are going on, and I think if tariffs get removed, it'll be good too. Bitcoin's at 88,844 as of saying this, so Bitcoin again is outperforming gold. I think it's due for a run. And I'm in leaps right now, but again, I'll be dialing out of those as we go higher. CleanSpark's up almost 4% in pre-market. Iron's up 2.2. Mara's up 2.52, making up for yesterday's losses. MicroStrategy is up 2.22, and yesterday it was up 0.18. It's the little engine that just keeps going up, and I'm really liking that with the MSTX that I have with that 2x levered fund, because when you have every day just going a little bit higher, even if it's a small amount, that 2x multiplier just starts to get more and more gains, which I love. So I'm really loving that right now. But again, it's already up like 35% from the low, maybe a little bit more today. Yeah, okay. What about AMD? I don't know. I'm not too focused on AMD in the chip sector, really. All right, so I don't know. I don't know with NVIDIA. I'm kind of interested in it, and this might be a great opportunity to buy it. I'm just worried a little bit about the macro and that we're not totally done with all the Trump tariff-related news. Because, again, we're not. And let's talk about some of that right now. So this is from Wall Street Engine. It says the U.S. is pressing India to give Amazon and Walmart full access to its $125 billion e-commerce market as parts of ongoing trade talks, with a 26% tariff on Indian exports hanging in the balance. Washington is calling current restrictions on foreign retailers non-tariff barriers. I think this is great. If we can get Walmart and Amazon in India, holy shit. That would be amazing. I'm liking TSLL right now, and if we drop further with Tesla today, I'll be buying more of it. But he says right now here, right now, Amazon and Walmart can only operate as marketplaces, while local players like Reliance can produce, own, and sell products directly. Talks are ongoing with a 90-day pause and new tariffs set to expire soon. I mean, not really. They've got more than 2 months. This would be interesting to see if they do this. Again, I think India is going to benefit a lot more from an open market environment if they just look at what happened with China when they opened up their markets to the United States. It treated them really well. So I could see them taking advantage of this. It's the smart thing to do, so hopefully Modi sees that. Now, in regard to the solar tariffs, United States places effective embargo on solar panels from Southeast Asia. So not just China, but again, that's because of all the dumping, right? We want to make sure we're getting it all. With tariffs as high as 3,500%. So seeking to aggressively counter solar panel dumping from Southeast Asia, the U.S. is dramatically raising tariffs on solar panel imports. The Trump administration alleges that Chinese-owned factories are producing the panels in Southeast Asia and dumping them on Western markets. Malaysia fares the best of the group with 40% tariffs, but Thailand, Vietnam sit at 350 to 400, and Cambodia faces a whopping 3,500% tariff. Last year, solar panels and imports. And I think I want to say, maybe Thailand was only 350 to 400, it looks like, from what this says. But yeah, these four Southeast Asian nations represented nearly 80% of all solar panels and module imports to the U.S. So I don't know. I don't know how this impacts everything, but it seems to be interesting. All right, let's keep going here. I think that's enough. I think we covered a lot in regard to the tariff front. Are we hitting 89,000 before market open? Maybe. I mean, I think that if you look over in the bottom right corner, you'll see that we don't have a lot of volume sitting above us. Even if I zoom out a little bit here, we really have a huge opening until you get to that red spot right around the 93,000 range. We've got like a pretty big opening. The trough is around 91,000. Right where we hit the 100 moving average, but really it could probably go up to 93 if it wanted to. And this is the opportunity. This is the time where Bitcoin will outperform. Victor says, take it or easy, Victor. Take it easy. Yeah, well, we're getting there. I think we're getting there. All right, real quickly here, let me look at U.S. economy. So we got Seth Golden. It's not about PE. It's about BLG. And he said, Median stock in the stock market as defined by value line geometric index just bounced off a critical and frequented support resistance level established in 2007, which proved a bear market bottom in 2022 and a corrective low in 2023. So again, what we're saying here is you can see this line, which was kind of the top in 2008. We went much lower than that, right? And this is the value line geometric index. So this is more about like the median of some of these values, and not just a PE ratio of sorts. And again, you can see where it topped out over here in the 2014 to 15 range, and then it went higher. It back tested. It went underneath in 2019, and then again in 2020 it went well beneath it, but it then found it as resistance, broke up, and then back tested again in 2022, back tested again in 2023, and now it is back tested again. So this would be a good place to bounce if we're going to bounce now. We'll see. We'll see if that happens. Andreas Steno Larsen said, services, the bigger part of the economy, and he's talking about the U.S., is in worse shape than the August-September of last year. Powell is late. So he's saying, hey, services has fallen off a cliff since about February of this year, where it was just very, very high. And this is people, again, pulling back due to uncertainty. I think it's a pretty normal thing, but it's coming down much quicker than manufacturing. And he's saying, hey, Powell's late because of this huge drop that we're seeing. You can see, though, where services dropped much further in 2023 before it ended up rebounding and then coming back again all the way into 2025. So we'll see what all happens. There's going to be a bunch of noise. We're going to have a rocky road ahead. I think that's a given. Breaking, Switzerland's pharmaceutical giant Roche is set to invest $50 billion. Oh, God, I love it. Awesome. Thanks for posting that real quickly here. Let me find that one real quick. Wow. Appreciate you, man. You are a good dude. How old are you again? Man Mahindra, how old are you? You're like a young dude, right? Yeah, so this is kind of a big deal, right? Very cool. Thank you for posting that. Again, this is just, we're going to see more and more headlines like this where because of Trump's policies, we're going to see investment dollars coming into the United States. One of the biggest moves by companies dealing with President Trump's tariffs, $50 billion in the United States in the next few years. I love it. 19, that's fucking ridiculous. You're way ahead of the game, man. You are way ahead. I wish I started. Yeah, right. I was interested and dabbled, but I ran away from it because around that time, around the age that you are, man, wasn't too far from the .com bubble for me. I was maybe just a little bit younger than that. No, I was probably around that age. And so I was interested in markets, but I didn't spend enough time really focusing on it. And I really wish I would have. Looking back, I wish I would have. So you're at a perfect age. Just don't run away. If you fail for any reason, just keep at it, dude. Don't stop. That is my biggest regret, not doing that, not staying with it. But who knows? Maybe I wouldn't be who I am today if I did. Jorge, Jesse, good morning. Do you think that it was a bad idea to get Riot shares at 1368? I don't know. Is that near what it's at now? I mean, I think the whole mining space is going to go up. I'd be a billionaire by now or homeless is what JT said. Yeah, that's about what I'm thinking too, right? I guess you just can't I think I'm a better investor from all of my failings. So, but maybe the gaps in between were beneficial too. I don't know. It's hard to know. But with 2020, what things would be like. Kobayashi letter, are corporate insiders starting to buy again? So a little bit of positivity. He said, the ratio of companies where insiders purchased their own stock versus sold rose to 0.42 in April, the highest in 16 months. So again, if you look over here, insiders buying and selling ratio, we're starting to see people pick up and buy. And there's a pink line in there. It says average number of insiders buying versus the average number of insiders selling. And so we're starting to see some positivity where maybe people are starting to find value in some of these stocks. And again, that's the highest amount of buying versus selling that we've seen in 16 months, which is good. Let's keep going down here. And again, TrendSpider just showing that we still could touch this 200 simple moving average. We didn't quite touch it, which again, not touching it means maybe we're more bullish. But again, if you look here, you can see where we touched it, came really close to touching it, touched it, overshot it, touched it, slightly overshot it. It wouldn't be crazy for us to drop a little more on the S&P, in my opinion. So I'm just mentally preparing for that. I also put how many times do people bet against America only to end up being wrong because they couldn't see the solutions? So this is from some guy named Ben Hunt. I don't know who this is. He's got a lot of followers. He said, we're in the early stages of a bank run in the United States and the US dollar, and everyone on Wall Street is heading for the exits, including domestic investors who will exit not because they want to, but because they know that not so golden rule. So he, again, just basically saying that the sky is falling. And I completely disagree with this. The fundamentals of what America is and all the companies that are still incredibly successful that have not been created anywhere else and that don't have substitutes is still very real. And so I think that it's foolish to bet against America. That's my view. That's my thesis. That's my bias. The long investor said, the entire COVID crash of 2020 lasted 1 month and 3 days and wiped out $7 trillion from the U.S. market. $6.5 trillion was wiped out from the market this year in April. Over 2 days alone, the entire world shut down in 2022. The market right now believes the tariff war is far worse than the pandemic where the entire world shut down in 2022. So this might be some signal that the market is overestimating the negativity of this. Not that it still can't be bad and prolonged, but it's probably going to bounce. And what are we right now? We're at, what are we at? Let's just look here. So we're at extreme fear because why not? We've done that for like 2 fucking months. So why not? And again, if you're looking at this one right here, guys, this is the fear, neutral, all those kind of ratings. It actually shows us on the CNN Fear and Greed Index here for the historical data that we have been in fear or extreme fear since the middle of December. So just remember, if it feels like it's been painful, it's because it has. Kobayashi said, appetite for leverage is historically high. So if anything, this is something that's still concerning. And I'm one of these people. But global leveraged equity funds attracted a record $14 billion in net flows 2 weeks ago. This is nearly triple the previous high posted during the 2020 pandemic. So there is a lot of people with leveraged ETFs betting that things are going to get a lot better. So this, if right, will be one of the most violent upticks in the market probably in a while. Maybe something pandemic-like. It doesn't have to happen now, but it could happen in the future. Otherwise, it could mark further downside because, again, a lot of leverage in this pointing to the upside. But again, let me just read this, though. Global leveraged equity attracted a record net inflows. That's nearly pandemic. So this doesn't actually say, though. I probably need to do more research into this. At the same time, the 3x leveraged Nasdaq 100 long ETF TQQQ took in a whopping $2.3 billion. The majority of inflows were driven by retail investors record. So what my worry about this is, I don't know if this is up or down. I just know it's leveraged funds. So it might not tell us. I mean, some of these people could be heavily short. We know at least $2.3 billion was in a 3x Nasdaq long. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But lots of leverage in play right now. James E. Thorne, the Fed is late. Yes, President Trump has a right to be disappointed. Yes, President Trump has a right to be disappointed. Basically, we covered this a little bit yesterday too. The current Fed fund rate is at 4.33. He's saying that as defined by Wixell, we're at approximately a rate of like 2.75. And so the Fed should be coming down. If you're not meeting that 2.75, you're in restrictive territory and tightening. And we don't want that. Let's see here. Adam Kobayashi from Kobayashi Letter said selling pressure is still orderly here. So again, we're not seeing anything too crazy. And he's saying that the VIX, we're watching it, but it could come down. And I just put, hey, we could fall further. We could fall here. I said, here's the bright note. We're at least halfway, if nothing else, from my worst case scenario. And I don't know if that'll be fulfilled or not. We could totally bounce. Again, we've been down for so long, guys, and there's a lot of reasons to be able to bounce. Let's look here. Let's go to Bitcoin. Live Trader TV has been doing the TQQQ. That channel audience moves weight could be a bit of why. Oh, okay. CNBC just said Bitcoin is obviously decoupled from the Nasdaq. I want to hear this real quick. I just want to hear it from his words.
Welcome back. Not a lot of green on the screen today, as you know. However, you probably didn't look at Bitcoin. Tanea McKeel did, and she's here. It's up 3%. What do you make of the way that this has been trading? It's decoupled, obviously, from the Nasdaq, which was a trend for a while. How do you see it?
Something that people were looking for all month, because if you go back to earlier this month, it really was trading in line with stocks. It just was not seeing the big, pops and drops that one we're used to seeing out of Bitcoin, and two, it is outperforming the S&P. It has not really caught up with gold, the leading safe haven. But I think you are seeing evidence, not just. I think that the obvious and easy narrative.
Today, gold is up 0.07% and Bitcoin is up 1.51%.
Would be that we're talking about Fed independence today, so Bitcoin is kind of acting as that hedge against, political uncertainty. But I also think that it's not just enthusiasm; it's also exhaustion. You're seeing investors wanting to, get back into risk, but just maybe not the type of risk that's tied to.
I don't totally agree with that. I think that a lot of people, and again, everybody views different things through different eyes, right? Some people look at gold as being worthless and unproductive. Other people look at gold as being the end-all, be-all, like the Peter Schiffs of the world, who have done really well in the last year when Bitcoin has kind of faltered. But I do think that as things are falling apart, and we have all these worries and all this concern, again, instead of just investing in tariffed stocks and equities, things that can be impacted by all the chaos and the uncertainty, it's like, what are you going to do? Are you going to jump into gold when it's went up, parabolic for gold by gold standards? Or are you going to go into the thing that's been beaten up for the last year that hasn't really moved, that has a history of insane outperformance, which with a much smaller cap? I think you're going to go for that other opportunity. You're going to go for the new digital gold. If nothing else, you're going to take some of your gold portfolio and you're going to do that to diversify your risk, and just knowing that you've done really well, and maybe because you're not ready to jump into equities in a big way yet. So I do think that there's a lot of that right now. Probably going to skip our next comment here and just move on. The Bitcoin historian, Justin Metaplanet CEO, publicly commits to buying 5,000 more Bitcoin. We want to be the #1 BTC holding company in Asia. So that's interesting. And I did do a post today. I talked about Bitcoin and what I thought was going to happen. I said, hey, we're above the 200 moving average. We're now well above that. And I said, we can basically run to the 100 moving average, where we got the 91,000 level right here. And then also we can break even higher to 93. That's where we hit some resistance. And I still think we can peak up into the 96,000 range, maybe retrace a little bit to establish a base, and then break out higher to go towards the 115,000, 120,000 range before maybe taking a breather. Or maybe we get above that. Maybe we get above in the 120s and then back test this first fib. Again, the way I'm measuring the fib, it's all dependent. I'm just trying to get a good extension in here. You can measure it a whole bunch of different ways, but I do think that that's probably going to be one of the next key levels to get above, and that we can find some pause there before we make a run to 150, which I think is very likely. And I think that is my base. Like, I'm pretty sure we're getting above 150. The question is really just how much higher. I probably will dial out of a lot of leverage, though, by the time we get to 150, because that is a decent trip higher than where we're at right now. I don't know if I have that listed on here, but yeah, it's a pretty high number. It's something where I could have 500, 600%, maybe even 1,000% gains on some of the things I'm invested in, which would give me millions and millions of dollars, and definitely all-time highs in my portfolio. So you got to get a little conservative once that happens. Vivek, Swiss Central Bank is buying MicroStrategy shares. Switzerland is buying Bitcoin. So what he was pointing out here is, fairly recently, you can see the share count. I can't see the exact date on here because these are 5-year timeframes, but you can see how a Swiss bank, central bank, has been has bought $150 million worth of Bitcoin. That's a lot. Are you still confident about CleanSpark, or you prefer MSTR? I mean, I've got them all, right? So my biggest holding right now is MSTR. I think I've got about $500,000 in that. It's via MSTX, so I'm leveraged to the hilt in that one. And then I've got about 420,000 in Mara, and then I've got about 360,000 in CleanSpark, all leveraged. And then I've got some IREN. I've got about 50,000 in IREN plus, and that's leveraged too, along with actual IREN stock. I don't know how much, something. So I've got a lot of leverage in Bitcoin related investments right now. A lot. 89,200 right now, guys. 89,238 on Bitcoin and climbing. So again, getting ready for that next level here towards the 100 moving average. This is the kind of stuff you like to see, guys. This is why I was so adamant over the weekend in trying to get people to not lose faith in Bitcoin, because I knew it was going to go up a lot. The bull trend is coming, baby. That's what Victor said. We need to hodl. Come on. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Surely we will pull back to 85,000 later this week. Why, Shirley? Why? There's no need to. There's no need to at all. So this right here, again, Vijua, such a retarded name. Who is this guy? Let me show you who this guy is. Let me see if I can find him real quick here. Because I just don't know. Or let me see. Maybe I can just go into his post thing. This is him. Not a great picture. Let me see if I can find any others of his actual face. Why doesn't he post who he... Oh, here he is. Right here. This is him. Okay?
Back in August, or I think it was last August, I brought up...
So he works with Blockworks now and Forward Guidance. He's actually a really brilliant guy, and I love listening to him. But he had a thesis about Bitcoin, and I want to read it because I think it's really good, and it is lengthy. So give me a second here, and I might actually just cheat because I hate like reading things out loud. So I might just start over here.
I want to write out something I've been thinking a lot about. How might Bitcoin act during a major regime shift in capital flows that it has never experienced in its life before? I think it's setting up for an incredible trade once the degrossing is over. In this piece, I break down my thinking. Let's go. What are the key drivers of Bitcoin price historically? I'm going to adopt the work that Michael Howell has done on the historical drivers of Bitcoin price action, and then use that to further understand how these cross-currents could evolve in the near future. As seen in the chart above, BTC is driven by general appetite from investors for risky high beta assets, its correlation to gold, global liquidity.
And I do agree with all of that, as well as Michael Howell. So I think the correlation to gold is a strong one. They take turns and jockey. And that can get complicated. I do think global liquidity, it's directly impacted by global liquidity. Michael Howell has a whole formula for how much he believes the impact to be. And then the general appetite from investors for risky high beta assets. But I think, though, that some of that is changing.
Global liquidity.
Oh, let me start back over here. I guess I might have paused too much. Let me get back down here. This is a long one, but it's so worth it, guys. I might actually use the restroom too while I play this. So let me just do this.
My simple framework since 2021 to understand the appetite for risk appetite, gold performance, and global liquidity is to focus on fiscal deficits as a nudge of GDP for a shorthand line of sight into the fiscal impulse that has been the dominant force in global markets since 2021. A higher fiscal deficit as ENA GDP mechanically leads to higher inflation, higher nominal GDP, and therefore higher top-line revenue for corporations as revenue is a nominal metric. For corporations that can enjoy economies of scale, this has been a boon for their earnings growth. For the most part, monetary policy has played second fiddle to fiscal impulses, which have been the dominant driver of risk asset activity. As seen in this chart from Ed Bicker and Brattle that he regularly updates, the monetary impulse in the U.S. has been so subdued versus fiscal to the point where I'm just going to set it aside for this discussion. As we can see in the chart below of major developed Western nation economies, the U.S. has run a substantially higher fiscal deficit as a one of GDP than any other country. With the U.S. running such a large deficit, top-line growth has been dominant and has led to significant U.S. equity performance versus other modern economies. Because of this dynamic, U.S. equity markets have been the dominant marginal driver of risky asset growth, wealth effect, global liquidity, and therefore has been a vacuum for global capital to go where it's treated best, the USA. Because of this dynamic of capital flowing into the U.S., paired with a major trade deficit that leads to the U.S. receiving goods in exchange for foreigners receiving us, dollars that they then reinvest into USD-denominated assets, think treasuries and Mag 7, the U.S. has become the dominant driver of all risk appetite in the world. Now, circling back to Michael Howell's work from above, risk appetite and global liquidity have been primarily driven by us for a decade now, and that trend has accelerated since COVID due to the US running such a large fiscal deficit compared to other countries. Because of this, Bitcoin, despite being a global liquidity asset, not just the US, has become positively correlated with US equities and increasingly so since 2021. Now, my belief is that the correlation to US equities is spurious. When I use the word spurious correlation here, I use it in the statistical sense in that I believe there is a third causal variable that is not shown within the correlation analysis that is the actual driver. I believe this to be global liquidity, which, as we established above, has been dominated by the US for nearly a decade now. As we move down the rabbit hole of statistical significance, we must also establish causality and not just a positive correlation. Fortunately, Michael Howell also did some great work here with this Granger causality test that established causality between global liquidity and Bitcoin. Where does this net us out as a benchmark to jump off from? Bitcoin is primarily driven by global liquidity, and a spurious correlation has emerged since the US has been the dominant driver of that increase in global liquidity. Now, over the past month, a few dominant narratives have emerged, as we all speculate on the goals of Trump's trade policies and restructuring of global capital and good flows. I view them as: the Trump administration wants to lower trade deficits with other countries, which mechanically implies a decrease of US dollars flowing to foreign countries that will not be reinvested into US assets. A decrease of the trade deficit cannot occur without this also occurring. Trump administration believes that foreign currencies are artificially weak, and therefore the USD is artificially strong and wants to rebalance that. In shorthand, a weaker dollar and stronger foreign countries will lead to higher interest rates in other countries, which leads to capital returning home to capture those interest rates which do better on FX-adjusted terms, and also domestic equities. Trump's shoot first, ask questions after approach to trade negotiations is leading to the rest of the world to unshackle themselves from their established, above meager fiscal deficits versus the US, and to invest in defense, infrastructure, and generally protectionist government investments to make themselves more self-sustaining. Regardless of whether the tariff negotiations de-escalate ex-China, I believe the genie is out of the bottle here, and nations will continue with this pursuit regardless.
And I don't believe that they're going to de-escalate with China at all anytime soon. He said nation will continue with this pursuit regardless. So I do think that that's true. Let's keep rolling here. Sorry, I kill it when I kill it. Evidently, when I pause it, it gets really retarded. So let me go back here. Let me see here. Increasing, I believe this totally occurs. One second. Where did I? Oh, fuck! Did I lose it? 1 second. I don't know where I went wrong. All right, here we go. Trump shoots first. Ask questions later. Here, whatever. All right, whatever. We're going to start here. We might have to repeat some of this. I'm not going to pause. Because I don't want to lose anymore. Oh, come on, dude. 1 second here. All right, whatever. We're just going to start back up here. All right, fuck it. Right here. We're not pausing.
Bitcoin is primarily driven by global liquidity, and a spurious correlation has emerged since the US has been the dominant driver of that increase in global liquidity. Now, over the past month, a few dominant narratives have emerged, as we all speculate on the goals of Trump's trade policies and restructuring of global capital and good flows. I view them as: the Trump administration wants to lower trade deficits with other countries, which mechanically implies a decrease of US dollars flowing to foreign countries that will not be reinvested into US assets. A decrease of the trade deficit cannot occur without this also occurring. Trump administration believes that foreign currencies are artificially weak, and therefore the USD is artificially strong and wants to rebalance that. In shorthand, a weaker dollar and stronger foreign countries will lead to higher interest rates in other countries, which leads to capital returning home to capture those interest rates which do better on FX-adjusted terms, and also domestic equities. Trump's shoot first, ask questions after approach to trade negotiations is leading to the rest of the world to unshackle themselves from their established, above meager fiscal deficits versus the US, and to invest in defense, infrastructure, and generally protectionist government investments to make themselves more self-sustaining. Regardless of whether the tariff negotiations de-escalate ex-China, I believe the genie is out of the bottle here, and nations will continue with this pursuit regardless. Trump wants other countries to increase their defense spending as a bun of GDP, and to contribute more to NATO spending, as USA has had to foot a large amount of the bill here. This also increases fiscal deficits. I'm going to set aside my personal opinions of these ideas, there's plenty of that out there already, and simply focus in on the implications of what these narratives could be if we follow them to their logical ends. Capital will leave USD-denominated assets and return home. This implies U.S. equity underperformance relative to rest of world, higher bond yields, and a lower in this capital. This capital is returning home to a place where fiscal deficits will be unshackled, and other modern economies will begin to spend and print to fund those increased deficits. As the U.S. continues to pivot from a global capital partner to a more protectionist one, holders of U.S. dollar assets will begin to have to increase the risk premium associated with these previously pristine assets and have to mark them with a wider margin of safety. As this occurs, it will lead to higher bond yields and an interest in foreign central banks looking to diversify their balance sheets away from purely U.S. treasuries and into other neutral commodities such as gold. In the same vein, foreign sovereign wealth funds and pension funds will also likely pursue this diversification of their books too. The contra view to these ideas is that USA is the hub of innovation and technology-driven growth, and no country will dethrone that idea. Europe is too bureaucratic and socialist to pursue capitalism like the US does. I'm sympathetic to this idea, and it probably leads to this not being a multi-year trend, but more a medium-term one, since the valuations on those technology names is going to limit their upside for a while. Tying back to the name of this article, the first trade is to sell less dollar assets that the entire world is overweight and avoid the degrossing that is ongoing. Because the world is so overweight these assets, this degrossing can become messy, as risk limits get hit by big money managers and more speculative players like multi-strat hedge funds that have tight stop losses. As this occurs, we get margin call type days where all assets need to be sold to raise cash. Right now, the trade is to survive this sequence and come out with dry powder. However, as this degrossing settles down, the next trade begins, diversifying into a more diversified portfolio.
I think it's beginning
foreign
now.
Equities, foreign bonds, gold, commodities, and even Bitcoin. During rotational market days and non-margin call days, we've started to see this dynamic take shape. DXY down, U.S. equities underperforming row equities, gold soaring, and Bitcoin holding up surprisingly well versus the traditional analog of U.S. tech equities.
Yes,
I believe
that's the
that as
signal.
this occurs, the marginal increase in global liquidity will shift into the complete opposite dynamic that we're used to. The row will take the mantle of increasing global liquidity, and therefore risk appetite. As I think through the risks of this diversification amidst a global trade war, I worry about the tail risks associated with venturing too deep into other country risk assets, as there are some big landmines there in terms of potential nasty tariff headlines that affect these assets. Therefore, that leaves me with gold and Bitcoin as global diversifiers amidst this shift. Gold has been on an absolute tear and is hitting new ETFs every day right now and is reflecting this regime shift. However, although BTC has been holding up surprisingly well during this whole regime shift, its beta correlation to risk appetite has kept a lid on it so far, and hasn't kept up with gold's outperformance. And so, as we move towards this global rebalancing of capital, I believe the trade after this trade is Bitcoin. As I contrast this framework with Howell's correlation work, I can see it come together. U.S. equities cannot be affected by global liquidity, only the liquidity is measured by the fiscal impulse, plus some capital inflows, but we just established that this side of flows is likely to stop or even reverse. However, Bitcoin is a global asset and reflects this broad lens of global liquidity. As this narrative becomes more established and risk allocators continue to rebalance, I believe risk appetite will be driven by row, not the U.S. Gold could not be doing better, so for the leg of BTC that is correlated to gold, we tick the box here too. With all of this established, I'm seeing the potential for the first time in my time in looking at financial markets for Bitcoin to decouple from U.S. tech equities. I know this is a widowmaker idea and often marks a local top in Bitcoin. The difference is that this time we are seeing the potential for a meaningful change in capital flows that would make it durable. And so for me, a risk-seeking macro trader, Bitcoin feels like the cleanest trade after the trade here. You can't tariff Bitcoin, it doesn't care about what border it resides in, it provides high beta to a portfolio without the current tail risks associated with us. Tech. I don't have to take a view on the European Union getting their shit together, and provides a clean exposure to global liquidity, not just American liquidity. This market regime is what Bitcoin was built for. When the degrossing dust settles, it will be the fastest horse out of the gate. Accelerate.
So I think that's a brilliant thesis as we watch Bitcoin going to 89,500. I think he's 100% right about this, and I actually think it's happening now. I think that the trade after the trade is happening right now because the timing is perfect. We had the perfect bounce off of 4 years worth of the trend line from the previous all-time highs in Bitcoin, where we barely even changed in 14 months, really, from the price from the previous high in the last 4-year cycle. And so, and then you've had gold just running like crazy and needing to take a breather. So we've got Bitcoin up 2.22%, and I've been talking in the last last week, I think, about how Bitcoin will start to outperform. I probably talked about it for several weeks, but I've talked about it happening like now in the last week. And gold is up 0.47% on the day, and Bitcoin's up 2.2%, and I think we're seeing that, and I think we're going to continue to see that. And these two will jockey back and forth, and the more chaotic the world gets, the better they do. And the benefit about Bitcoin that you won't get with gold is gold has already run really hard for over a year. And so with that move, you've got Bitcoin, a much smaller asset, which can give you a greater multiple of return that has not had that run. And so I think at the very least, I think the next several months, you're going to see a lot of strength in Bitcoin. I'm very glad I got out of TLT. That would have been a horrible trade had I kept it. It's just done nothing but gotten more miserable over time. So I'm glad I got rid of that, and I'm glad that I focused mostly on Bitcoin, and I'm glad I'm not really leveraged on Tesla either, even though that's a much smaller position. Right now, it's probably only about like 13% or something. No, 12%, 11% of my portfolio. It's actually not that much. Yeah, I don't think gold or GLD is paper gold. So I mean, I like that even less. But I don't think gold is a good investment right now. I don't think that's a smart investment because I do think that it could be weaponized by America down the road. I think the no-brainer right now is getting into Bitcoin and making sure that you're into the proxies and benefiting from them. In pre-market, we've got CleanSpark up 4.42%. We've got Iron up 4.17%. We've got Mara up 3.5%. And we've got MicroStrategy up 2.78%. I would expect these to be strong runners today. And by strong runners, I mean maybe getting into double-digit percentage returns under the underlying assets today, which could be a filthy amount of money if you're in options contracts. So we'll see what happens with it today. But again, I think there's going to be a lot of up force in Bitcoin-related investments here very soon. And I do think you should follow people like Fijao, whatever his weird fucking thing is in here. He's only got 69,000 followers. I think he's brilliant. And again, he's working with forward guidance now and still doing blockwork macro, I believe, too. And just a really good host, really smart guy, really hardworking dude. Kind of keeps his comments pretty short on X outside of, this beautiful thread that he wrote. So check him out if you haven't already. Vice President Vance, Chris says, announces America and India have officially finalized the terms of reference for the trade negotiation. We did talk about that earlier. I actually I commented about how I believe that our trade deal with India is going to be one for the record books, and it's going to redefine global trade for the world over this next 100 years. So I think it's a really big deal. I think we're sitting at times, they say that like there are years when nothing happens, and then there are times when everything happens all at once. We are sitting at an event that is probably once every 100 years, maybe once every several hundred years. So recognize the importance of what's going on in the world right now. This is the time where incredible amounts of wealth are made. This is also the time where lots of money is lost. So make sure you're on the right side of history and you listen to the people that aren't just a bunch of noise. TT, what would be hilarious is if the U.S. and India coordinate a collective rug pull on Chinese gold. India loves gold, so I don't know that we're going to get a rug pull. But again, I do think that we're going to see massive adoption of Bitcoin, and America is going to be at the forefront of it. And I've talked about this before. I don't know if I have this in front of me right now. No, that's ARK. I think it's over here. Nope, that's not it either. I think it's over here. Is it this one? Maybe. Could be. It's generating. Here it is. Okay, so this shows all the pools, but it shows all the mining that's occurring with Bitcoin. And what it shows over here is that China represents 21.1% of the hash. Kazakhstan is 13.22. You could kind of almost call that an extension of China. They could invade that pretty easily if they wanted to. So that's 35% in total. And then Russia's only 4.66. So all these, really China doesn't have that much of the global hash rate. But if you look over here at the United States, it's kind of fucking ridiculous. 37.84% of the total hash for the earth for Bitcoin. Bitcoin at almost $90,000 right now this morning. When you're looking at this, and then Canada's 6.48%. So if you just add these two up, we're sitting at about 45% of the global hash rate just in North America. And again, there's more hash down south here, but not much. But I could see like Argentina. Argentina to me is a no-brainer. There should be wicked amounts of hash power in Argentina, especially the southern part where it is cooler and where you have mountain ranges and where you might have pretty good energy prices. There's just I could see North and South America really being a huge part of the mining hash for the world. I'm very excited to see that happen. And again, it just shows that this is a network that is sustainable and that it's not run by a bunch of communists, which is good. Let's see what we got for comments here. And then we'll get more into what's going on here. TT said, oh, that was you. George said, how do we feel about GME? Options are not pricing in BTC Treasury strategy quite yet. I won't touch it. But I do think that they're going to be, there's maybe an opportunity there. I don't know. I don't care about GameStop, and I try not to touch trash. I think the company's just dying. That's what some companies do when they're dying. They adopt Bitcoin because it gives them a lifeline. Not really what MicroStrategy is doing, something completely different. But because GME bought like a gold company too, right? I mean, these might not be the worst decisions in the world for the company. Maybe I should think about it more. But I do think that when they buy Bitcoin, if they bought $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, it's going to be so much the price pressure. It's going to be crazy. And they call that like TWAPing. It's like a time-weighted average purchase, something where they're just trying to dial in slowly. I would assume they do something like that. Maybe they'll just buy a big chunk at once through a couple of like large transactions through different companies. I don't know. But yeah, I'm excited to see it happen for the ecosystem. Christopher, there's 700 million-ish Indians entering the middle class. That is enormous amount of wealth waiting to be tapped and fostered for continual growth via modernization. Yeah, you'll hear a narrative that India can't do what China did because they're not as hardworking, or they've got too many issues within all their provinces, which are like states. I don't know. They got like 30 of them. There is a lot of complexity there. But I think a lot of that also, too, is just a Chinese propaganda narrative because they don't want India to be a competitor that outpaces them. I do believe that India can grow substantially, especially if they open up their markets. That's the big thing Modi needs to figure out. If Modi opens up the markets, it's going to drastically change India's future for the better. And I'm very excited about it. India deserves a better future, not just call centers. So I'm very excited about that. Sawyer, how do you see MSTR 12% BTC yield year to date coming into play with next earnings? I don't know. So we have next earnings should be interesting. They are actually going to start including FASB accounting rules. So there's going to be some big adjustments. I don't know exactly how they play out from an accounting perspective, including that. But I do think that it's kind of a no-brainer when you look at MicroStrategy, just any aspect of it. The 3-month return is negative 18%. The 1 year is 140%. Just like if you just look at how much this company has grown and the fact that they have 538,200 Bitcoin, way more than the largest countries on Earth combined, it's there's a lot of good things coming for MicroStrategy. And again, if you're worried about like their purchases, what's over here, it shows you all of them. It shows you their acquisitions. You can see everything. You can see the NAV that they're getting on it. You can see their debt. This is amazing. You can see all the convertible loan offerings, what the terms are, the coupon for it, the maturity days. Like you can see everything in here. They're very, very open. And I think the transparency they provide to the markets and the way they're constantly kind of reinventing how you look at them, I think is brilliant. I think it's really brilliant. And I think that right now we're almost at a 2x NAV. People are like, oh, it's not going to go up again. Well, it is. And I honestly think that it could go to 3x. I think it could maybe even go close to 4x again like it was before. Irrational exuberance makes crazy things happen. I'll be happy to make a bunch of money off of this and then dial out of it slowly as we go higher and higher and higher. And again, if we got to 800 or 900, like around those levels, I'll definitely be 100% out of MSTX, probably before that. But I'll enjoy the ride for sure. When do you plan to sell Solana and Ethereum? I don't own Ethereum, but Solana, I'll probably sell, I don't know. What is it at right now? 142. I might be all out of Solana, probably in the 5 to 830 range. I might be all out of Solana just because I want to buy this house with this pool. It hasn't sold yet. I really want it. I want it this year. So I'll probably take my tax bill for my long-term capital gains, and I'll probably lock in some and like cash out $1 million or something, or a little bit more, hopefully by that time. Alonasis, hey Jesse, where's the puts then calls on Tesla? Is there more shorts or calls? I haven't looked at that number. I don't know. I don't really care too much. It's probably going to have a decent move. I'm sure you can find that online. Whatever we believe the overall percentage move up or down to be. It's up right now, 1.54% pre-market. Today looks like a bouncy day across markets, with Bitcoin taking the lead up at almost $90,000 now. So I don't know. I think today's going to be a good day. And I don't know. I think we're losing some pessimism, which is probably why gold is underperforming today as well. But I just think Bitcoin has held so well lately. Sawyer, I love the strategy app. It's amazing. Yeah, strategies. I mean, MicroStrategy's really turned into a great company. Alex Garcia, MSTR PE ratio can be under 8 after adopting FASB accounting rules. Algos will be all over. Yeah, if that's true, wow, we could see a really big boost in NAV. I would love that. Again, I'm pretty leveraged into this bitch, so I would love to see that. LW Crypto, India products have not been made as good as China's. They need to pay better attention to detail if they want to provide quality. Yeah, all those things are fixable, though, right? All those things are fixable with time and refinement. You got to realize China's had multiple decades to be the manufacturing powerhouse for the world. India hasn't had that, but it's starting to, right? Like it's building Apple products, it's building a bunch of others. You got to give them time. It doesn't all happen, immediately overnight. Julian, I'm scared for CleanSpark. 25 November options are down so much. I bought so many different option contracts and dialed into them along the way. I'm not worried about it. I'm actually pretty excited about it. My contracts yesterday were up $20,000 for CleanSpark. So I can't imagine what they're going to be today if we really do go up 4.42% in pre-market. Yeah. And again, what's your strike on that one? I don't know if you listen. 25. I mean, you got to move. You got to move fast. But to be clear, it's doable, especially November. So the July stuff I worry about, right? But like we've got this downward channel we tried to break out of, and I don't know. You might have to redraw this. It probably needs to be redrawn to like this because we've had some strong wicks. But if we start to see a move, like if we get up to $9, I think we're very quickly going to go up to like 12, and I think there's a really good chance in the coming months, at least the next 2 quarters, that we very quickly get up to 15. If you do that, if you double really quickly, again, it's only a $2.1 billion market cap. We're just talking about it going to 4, and that would get us up to here, actually a little bit above this. But I could see us in the next 1 to 2 quarters getting to $18 really quick. Those contracts will look a lot better at $18. And November is a lot of time. That's like peak time. So I think that we could at least get bare minimum $33 on CleanSpark, maybe in the 50s by the time we get to November. So I think the numbers will look a lot better. And I've even got some November $20 strikes. I've got some $20 September strikes. I've got some 25 July 18th. Those will do really well if we move fast. So I've staggered. I've actually got 4 different contracts. I've got my originals too, which are probably going to be worthless. But they're the CleanSpark 37 July of 2025 calls. I've got way too many of those. But we'll see what happens. Again, this is why we diversify. So I've got that going all the way out to November for CleanSpark. Then I've got stuff for Mara that goes all the way out to December with contracts. And then I've got stuff for Iron that goes out to November. And then I've got the MSTX ones that don't have a date. And then, I think that's about it. Where would you close some $18 CleanSpark Junes that are clearly underwater? It all depends on the momentum, man. We'll have to see how it goes. If we rock it really quickly and get up to 12 and then things look a little sketchy, or we've moved a lot on Bitcoin, then maybe you want to get out of it sooner because you've made a bunch of your money back. It just all really depends. it's less time, right? June is not a lot of time. So if we get really big moves up, and you're not confident it's going to make it to where it needs to be, because what is yours? What did you say it was? $20. Then you might want to exit early, right? So like, because what you're talking about there, I mean, we bounced today, so we'll just include pre-market in here. But to get to that strike, which is break even, $20 is break even, right? You need 160% upside between now and June. So again, some of these contracts, I don't know, like the June, July timeframes. I've just got my youngest, the ones that are going to expire soonest, are just July. So I got a little more time than you do. But yeah, I don't know. You want to ride that momentum and get the fuck out, because again, time is your friend with these things. Unless you just think we're going to go to the moon and you're willing to lose a bunch of money that you made back. Where would you? Okay, Julian, I hope. Would you roll CleanSpark July 20s or hold off to see what Bitcoin? I would let Bitcoin bounce first, and then I would look to roll later, personally. Because again, even today, what are we looking at for the price? We're looking at maybe 774 from 747. I don't know. It's up to you. It's up to you guys. I don't know. I don't know where you're sitting with your finances. I don't know your portfolio performance, or what percentage allocation you have. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just some dude on the internet trying to make my own decisions. So I don't know. You'll have to figure some of that out. 3 minutes to the bell. Sweet. Matthew Purdy just in. United States and India. Vice President Vance says that U.S. and India will finalize terms of trade. Yep. We saw that earlier. It's all good stuff. I think that's all good stuff. Let's get over and see what's going on with the bell. And I might not stick around too long this morning. I got a lot going on. I do think it's going to be a good day. Maybe just shorten trade terms, hold fire on that. Yeah, I think they've got like their initial trade deal negotiations. They've got expectations met, and they're trying to finalize the deals.
Looking for a story, ironclad, no tariff. Numbers look up. Numbers are too low. Stock chart is good. There you go. I give you McDonald's will probably be up 8 today.
All right. You like McDonald's?
Lots of
I was Wendy's this weekend. That was with my wife. Had a regular cheeseburger with bacon.
Lots of investment.
I don't know what's the matter. I had just fries. Fresh cut fries.
Lisa never has another thing but
no,
Baconator
because
at
we were
home.
having Easter dinner, and she felt that if she ate that a Baconator, she might be too full for Easter dinner. I think that's
so she just got the cheeseburger with bacon.
Oh, hey. It looks like I missed this. We did get the Philly Fed services. Oof. And it looks like it fell pretty hard. I'll just bring this over real quick. Looks like it fell pretty hard. I'll get the ding-ding going. One sec here.
But not the Baconator.
The Nasdaq, it's People Magazine, owned by IAC, celebrating the recent launch of the People app. As we get...
All right.
It is like a kid's meter.
I'm going to bring Tesla over.
As we get some green on the board this morning, Jim.
Well, look, I think the president has said nothing nasty. He's not been vicious. He's not called names. David, I was thinking about what names for you. I was thinking, how about considered? How about brilliant?
All right, we're going to kill Jim. Stock heat map. So again, this hasn't updated yet, but we can see what the pre-market did. Let's see here. This is where we started to open, which is a nice placement. This will update in a second here. There we go. So again, the Magnificent Seven looks like it's doing well. A lot of stuff making up for yesterday's price action. Bitcoin's still holding on, 89,563. Still seeing pretty good gains, up almost 5% on CleanSpark. I could see the miners really doing well today if Bitcoin remains strong. Paul Stewart, nice erect chart on Robinhood. Good to hear. What is Robinhood up today? I don't even have it over on my little cheat sheet thing over here. Real quickly, though, I do want to look at something else. So economic data. I wasn't really focused on this earlier, but we had our Richmond Fed details. I'm just going to refresh and look at that. Oh, that doesn't come till 9, so we're still good on that. We've still got a ways. Yeah, we still got a ways for that. I don't know if I'm going to stick around for that or not today, though. I got a lot to do. Guys, CleanSpark, woof. Maybe I'll stick around for a minute because this is just fun to say. CleanSpark's up 7.4%. Oh, my screen's locking up here a little bit. Hopefully that doesn't mean it's breaking down. But yeah, CleanSpark up 7.83%. So could have an interesting day in markets today, guys. We got Mara up over 5. We've got MicroStrategy up almost 4. This could be one of those days where like we saw here recently, where we have just a really good outperformance on Bitcoin proxies. It's well overdue, so it'd be nice to see. It'd be nice to see. What's up, guys? We doing nicely today? I think so, Nick. Austin, morning, Jesse. Are you going to do a Tesla earnings call for market close? I don't think so. I think I'll probably just leave it with like Farzad and watch his stuff. Sometimes it's nicer just to sit in the backdrop and watch. And I think it's going to be interesting to see. Like they have a bunch of really good input. They have great people that come on and talk about it. CleanSpark up 10%. 1 second here. I got to go to this watch list. CleanSpark up almost 10%. Mara up almost 7%. MicroStrategy up over 4%. Iron up almost 7%. We're going to start to see some crazy outperformance ahead, guys. A lot of pain is going to disappear. I hope you're ready for it. ARKG is probably one of the least excited ones I am right now because I think we got to become more risk on for that one to really take off. But I think things could get really stupid with the miners and MicroStrategy. Really stupid. We're almost at 90,000. Almost at 90,000. 32% short on CleanSpark. Gotta love that. Could have some mega squeezes coming up here, guys. Yeah, so the bond volatility index is still high today, up at 12.15%. But outside of that, that's in respectable levels. Seeing some real good double-digit stuff going on across the crypto and Bitcoin space right now. Soul Strategy is coming back. It got hit pretty hard yesterday. Yeah, I'm leaning on BTC and away from risk bets. And the great thing about Bitcoin is it kind of is a risk bet, but it's also not. It's got other purpose. So you're kind of, I feel like you're covering yourself in a lot of ways right now with Bitcoin, especially over the short term until it runs a lot. Nick, miner sentiment is so low. Time for miners to become what they were supposed to be all along in terms of price. Yes, they can bounce a lot. And they've sucked for almost 14 months now. They've sucked for 14 months. Bond yields are down. That's good. Yeah. So bond yields today, it looks like the 10-year is down about 1.04%, which is great. The 2-year is up 0.42%, but it dropped pretty good yesterday. So this is a good number for bond yields. For sure. Do you think the euro will drop compared to USD? I got a lot of money in stock, and the rate to turn back to EU is shit currently. Yeah, I don't know. I think the dollar could weaken more. So I think the exchange rate could still suck for a while, Daniel. Honestly, I think it could suck for a while. And it's just one of the problems right now. Again, from what we were listening to a little bit ago, just talking about how one of the main goals is to weaken the dollar. And as the dollar gets weakened, you're going to see that kind of exchange rate issue. Still holding on my MSTX, willing to hold on to 2026. Yeah, I don't know if you want to hold on that long. The cycle does historically come to an end around November to December, like October, November, December. So by Q4, you kind of maybe want to get out of leverage. Cypher up 14%. Nice. Yeah, it looks like Iron's up 8.18. CleanSpark is almost 10. Mara's almost 8. And MicroStrategy is getting closer to 5. So it's going to be a good day. I think you should add your Lambo with your Tesla Roadster when things start to rip. No substitute. Nah, I honestly, man, I just can't. I don't care about the Lambo. It makes a lot of noise. You're right. I don't really want to have to take care of it. The maintenance on it is fucking horrible. I would rather have a house with an indoor pool. I live in the Midwest, so being able to swim when it's like -10 out is really cool, in my opinion. Elon is in a great mood today. He just reposted a clip of him saying, I remember for 3 years straight, I would I would just be headlines trashing Tesla over and over again, and our sales went up. That's what he posted. That's fascinating. So Elon tends to like to give people direction on how things are going. That sounds very optimistic. Unlock real estate. Would you suggest to move NVIDIA position to Tesla, as NVIDIA is clearly down 2% with all? I personally think that Tesla would be a better position for you because you're looking at a market cap that's like 750 billion, not even with whatever it's moved today, versus 2.4 trillion with NVIDIA. So just that alone, I feel like gives you more upside. Plus, Tesla is down more than NVIDIA is from its high. My buddy was quoted $2,200 for his Porsche, some tiny piece of plastic, nothing like a Tesla. Yeah, dude, it's just outrageous. You mean for like some replacement part or something? Yeah, wouldn't surprise me. Elusive, Jesse, can you teach us about TSLL, please? Like how long you hold? It's up to you. So here's the thing you have to realize. I like to look at the stock versus the underlying. So I'll just jump out of this view real quick here. So the stock, like, let's put it this way. So there's a couple ways to look at this. It's a 2x leverage fund, which means you can, if it chops sideways forever, you're fucked. You're going to lose a bunch of money because that's just the way derivative products like this work. But when Tesla went up 130% from October of 2024 to December of 2024, you would have done really well. And let me actually look for the TSLL side of things. Let me pull this over. So we'll go back even further. So if you bought TSLL at the bottom on April 22nd of 2024 and then held it to the top at $41, you made 740%. Now that's the extreme case. Not a lot of people held. This is a wick down. So you could even say maybe it's a little bit more realistic to say that you probably would have only gotten 590% returns. But to put that into perspective, where was Tesla at, and what would you've gotten in the core asset? So over that same period of time, you would have gotten 246% returns. So you got more than a 2x return off of it. And if you really did a good job timing the top, you got a 731% return on it versus what would have been if you just held the stock 246%. So that's pretty good. I did even better than that. I did like 10x plus because I was in options that were really well targeted. So option contracts are the maybe smarter, more strategic way of playing it. TSLL is just like the dumber way of doing it, but getting some kind of leverage where you get a multiple to the upside. But again, if you did something where you chop down to sideways from like June 2023 all the way to April of 2024, you would have lost a ton of money because it's 2x to the downside, and sideways chop erodes away the value as well because it's time-based. It's like an options contract. So you wanna try and hold this for momentum. If we got some wicked bounce and got up to 480, 500, that might be a good time to get the fuck out. And if Tesla went up 110%, you could probably get a 250, maybe even 300% return, depending on the timing, with your TSLL. So that's kind of the way you need to look at it. JT says, I've come to realize that with old age and experience that I'm lazy and hate maintenance. Yeah, dude, same here. It's like you get things thinking you love them, and then all of a sudden they become a burden, and you don't want that. CleanSpark up 11%, Iron's up almost 10%, Mara's up almost 8%, and MicroStrategy is up about 5%. But if you're doing an MSTX, you're getting 10 on that too. So I'm getting a pretty good 10% base on a lot of these things that are up today, and that should be a lot more money here soon. Yeah, 90K. It's pretty cool. 91, very possible, guys. That's where we could take a break, between 90 and 91, just as forecasted. And if we get all the way up for some reason into the 92, 93 range, well, fuck. We're in for some good times. I don't know how much. I don't know if I do any selling today, it'll be because I've made stupid amounts of money, like 30% or 40, 50% on contracts. I might take a little bit off the table, a very small amount. But I think I'm going to stop here. Again, there's the Richmond Fed that's coming out in about 19 minutes, but I'm probably just going to call it. I got so much going on. So again, I wish you guys luck. I hope you realize the opportunity here, and I hope you've been holding on the whole time, and I hope you get ready to make a bunch of money, because I think that's what's coming next. Anyway, all right, I will talk to you guys later. See you in a bit. Peace out. Bye.
You know it's Lil Bubble on the beat too. Yeah, I love it when it bounce like up, down, all night. It's alright. Whoa, yikes. Pull up like a star shines so bright. Spacesuit like my Lambo, Snow White. Woke up at 2:15. Bad dream, but it seems so true. We long, Elon tweets news, and the shit drop. I ain't ever stopped lost. Oops. Pick my phone up, check it. Hold on, wait a second. Shit was not a dream, it would seem I am wreck it. Twitter feed screaming at the man. Just another day, another scam.
Make it go.
Up, down, all night, so right. Whoa, yikes. Pull up like a star shines so bright. Spacesuit like my Lambo, Snow White. Up, down, all night, so right. Whoa, yikes. Pull up like a star shines so bright. Spacesuit like my Lambo, Snow White. Suit in a Snow White land. She asked, did I lose it? I'm like, damn. My girl's yelling, sell, baby, try to understand. This is just another dip, trying to shake the weak hands. Goddamn, not fair. Another day, another dollar loss. I don't hate the game, I'm just saying this is what it costs, what it is. Lot of risk, lot of pain, lot of loss.
And let's use risk management.
I ain't got a boss, I just let it go. Up, down, all night, so right. Whoa, yikes. Pull up like a star shines so bright. Spacesuit like my Lambo, Snow White. Up, down, all night, so right. Whoa, yikes. Pull up like a star shines so bright. Spacesuit like my Lambo, Snow White. Yeah, Snow White.